Now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring on a RISE analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku. Good morning, Constance.
A very good morning to you, Charles. How are we doing today?
We're great. So far, so good. But I guess my partners are both out of action today, Deswa and Yolanda. So here we are.
I can see that. I can see that. I think we can do okay. No problem at all.
All right.
Okay, to join us this morning to look at the papers, we have Emmanuel Azikian. He is a columnist with Vanguard newspaper. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with this day. Atiku's political desperation responsible for PDP's tragic disintegration, says APC. Dismisses allegation ruling party paying opposition parties 50 million naira. During All Progressives Congress has come for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, claiming he's played a key role in the destruction of the once vibrant People's Democratic Party. This is in response to Atiku's allegation that the APC is inducing opposition parties with 50 million naira to whittle down their chances of mounting an opposition in the next general elections. APC says there's no evidence to that. So there's been back and forth between these two parties. One thing that the national spokesman of the APC, Felix Moka, said in his statement, and that we can all agree to, is that Nigerians deserve better than petty politicking, according to him, and all the parties currently are involved in that at this moment. And it's so easy to issue statements in newspapers, and that distracts from the real problems and solutions to what matters most to Nigerians. Emmanuel.
Well, it's remarkable. This accusation against Atiku has been, it's not new, that his desperation, as it were, as his critics do allege, is what has led PDP to its death throes. Atiku has been a contender for the presidency since 1992 or 1993 with MKO Abiola, when MKO Abiola ran for his presidential election. And the APC in its statement yesterday did describe him as a prolific judicial agitator, and which is quite interesting. But whatever, the issue is not Atiku now. We should not look at the messenger. Let us look at the message. What is the state of democracy in Nigeria? And Felix Moka, that is saying this, we also have to find out what is the state of democracy even in the APC. You see that Nigerian democracy, many people are alleging it's at its death throes. Both political parties are presently enmeshed in crisis. There is a state of inactivity, especially when it comes to politics or politicking. The National Executive Council of the APC, who realize has not had a meeting in almost 2 years, and you call that a political party? The PDP itself also has not had a NEC meeting in months. I understand from my sources that they are thinking of holding a meeting in February. So whatever it is, we should look beyond Atiku. Let us look at the state of democracy in Nigeria. Is democracy thriving in Nigeria or not? That is the issue we should ask.
And Emmanuel, when you talk about the message, there's also that allegation of 50 million naira being offered to opposition political party members in order to make sure that in 2027 there's only the APC standing. Charles, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, this is not the first time to hear this kind of allegation that money is being used to induce different people for various reasons.
Well, it's an allegation, and so those who are alleging have the responsibility to prove as well. But having said as much, I mean, how many political parties in Nigeria do we have at the moment? I guess in the last election we had more than 10. And you know, how many of these parties will the APC bribe to break them up so that only the APC will be the only party in the next wave of elections? That I really can't tell. But of course, that allegation coming from Atiku Abubakar, who has been what one would describe as a serial presidential candidate. He has run on the platform of the ACN. Before then, he attempted to run on the platform of the PDP. Then he did successfully eventually. And he was also accused by his co-contestants during the PDP congresses of having bribed his way into the PDP ticket as well. And we also have the fact that he is also one of the founding fathers of what we now know as the All Progressives Congress. So it's very difficult to separate Atiku's political ambitions from his utterances. This is not playing the devil's advocate, but the fact that, you know, whenever you put yourself in a position like that, then it makes it easy for those who are opposed to you to hit back, and hit back very hard. As for the state of politics in Nigeria at the moment, the PDP can't hold it together because Atiku Abubakar is not on the same page as his cohorts in that party. We have the Labour Party there who have their issues as well, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, if the center cannot hold for the other political parties, then, well, the APC would be having a field day, even if it's a fragmented All Progressives Congress.
All right, let's move on to The Guardian. Worry over regional security trade in ECOWAS without Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. It has come to pass, you know, effective today, these three countries cease to be members of the Economic Community of West African States. This removal from the African bloc makes us now a 12-member state, or 12-member countries, instead of 15 that it used to be. And, you know, these countries have also formed what they call the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. There are implications for cooperation, of course, on security and trade, especially because we know that Mali was very much, or Niger rather, was very much involved in the fight against terrorism, against Boko Haram and other extremists in the Sahel. And so this will take some time to sort out all the details that need to be sorted out in order to continue to have some sort of cooperation, because we're still neighbors, Emmanuel.
Well, it's unfortunate that three countries have left the ECOWAS bloc. And I think this is about the most serious foreign policy failure of a Nigerian government in recent memory. Because ECOWAS was and had, even up to now, been seen as a Nigerian project, starting from when General Yakubu Gowon started it. And that this administration came in, and within months, you had triggered the exit of three of the foundation members out of the bloc. It's unfortunate. And as this is going on, Nigerians are beginning to question why the priority that this administration gives to its relationship with France at the expense of your brothers around you. And this is happening because we ask, these three countries, including some other African ECOWAS countries like Ivory Coast, Chad, are questioning the effects of France on their countries because they feel that they have been exploited by France. And Nigeria, at the same time, we are moving gradually increasing our relationship with a country that its children are disowning. It's like a father being disowned by his children. And we that are outside will say, we like this father. It's quite unfortunate, and it has serious implications for Nigeria, given Niger's strategic relationship within the security configuration in the sub-region. Because Niger, in fact, at the time that the Nigerian military was at its lowest ebb, Niger was said to be helping Nigeria. But it's unfortunate, and I think the administration in Nigeria has to rethink its intentions, especially towards France, because people are very displeased. This is a country that has not helped us from the civil war, even to the loss of the Bakassi Peninsula, France has never been our brother, or even our to the extent that now we are now chumming up in a relationship that is very questionable.
Well, you know, Emmanuel, when you say that Nigeria triggered their exit, you know, there could be a counter-argument that, you know, a lot of things happened. You know, there were military coups in those countries. There was a lot of back and forth, and eventually they decided on their own to leave. You know, that was after Nigeria, you know, threatened that they were going to invade those countries in order to restore democracy. But, you know, just a counter-argument that is out there that it wasn't only the responsibility of Nigeria. Anyway, it has happened, and we have to find a way to move forward as neighbors. Let's look at Daily Sun. El-Rufai plotting to unseat Tinubu presidency. This accusation was made by Special Advisor to the President on Policy Communication, Daniel Bwala. The former Kaduna State Governor, Madam Nasir El-Rufai, you know, has been lambasting the government, claiming that we have illiterates, semi-illiterates, and cunning people as leaders. Bwala in turn asked if he would express this sentiment if he was in government. What do we begin with this? We know that El-Rufai was one of the staunch members of APC, still a member of the APC, although he doesn't agree with all the policies in the government today. But, you know, he was also supposed to be a minister, and then he didn't, you know, get a security clearance, and that's why today he's not a minister. What do you make of, you know, this talk from him and back and forth between the two people, Bwala and Nasir El-Rufai?
The comment from Bwala is, you know, Bwala did not address the issues raised by El-Rufai. And one of the points El-Rufai raised was the fact that APC, as it exists now, is not recognizable as a political party. And he gave one measurement of that the APC has not had a NEC meeting in the last 2 years. You cannot have a political party where you do not, principal members, do not come together to issue and to share ideas. That is what a political party is. A political party is a forum or a platform for the interrogation, for the articulation of ideas on policy and programs to be invested by a government in power. But the APC has not had a NEC. It is, I shrink at that thought, that imagination, that it can happen, that you have a political party, your NEC meeting, not just the NEC meeting, even the NWC, which is the principal platform for directing the political party, the working arm of the party. We rarely hear of meetings now. And yesterday you had Felix Smoker issue a statement. Who were the people who articulated the statements? So it's so unfortunate. El-Rufai, and mark you, El-Rufai was one of the, in fact, I could say he was not more than 2 or 3 persons who would have contributed more than El-Rufai in the emergence of President Tinubu Asiwaju as the presidential candidate of the party. Personally, I've heard of his own contribution in mobilizing the party, mobilizing the Tinubu, mobilizing for Tinubu, even in the Southwest. So it's unfortunate. Yes, El-Rufai may not. Some people look at him with evil as evil, but again, looking at the message he's bringing, is democracy or APC as it is presently constituted? Is it a political party? In fact, it has turned into a parastatal, and one measurement of that is the absence of meetings. So Bwala failed totally to address the issues raised by El-Rufai in his at the democracy convocation last Monday.
I actually find it very, very curious at this point. I mean, the allegations leveled by Nasir El-Rufai, who also happens to be a very brilliant man and a very brilliant politician too, actually need looking into. But then on my part, the question I would be asking is that the National Working Committee of a political party and, of course, the National Executive of a political party, when they are to meet, who actually sanctions those meetings? They have officials, they have chairmen, and, of course, there is also a party structure on the ground. So who are fingers pointing to? Why are they afraid to say directly that so and so and so person is responsible for the state of affairs in the All Progressives Congress? El-Rufai also did reiterate what Atiku Abubakar said about an effort, a deliberate effort on the part of the All Progressives Congress to destabilize the other political parties. You know, he said there are internal mercenaries in the PDP hired and motivated to destroy the party. That's quoting him. And he said that's what Peter Obi told him as well. So I think these allegations actually bear looking into. But then let them come out and say directly that this is the person responsible for the state of affairs in the All Progressives Congress.
Okay, the Punch this morning, Telecom's 50% tariff hike, subscribers head to court and as NCC talks deadlocked. If the telecommunications companies thought that this 50% hike was going to go smoothly, I think they were dead wrong. The National Association of Telecommunications Subscribers say they're initiating legal proceedings. Why? The organization says the efforts to get the Nigerian Communications Commission to reduce the hike to 10%, it has failed. They say 10% is more acceptable to them. I can see why they would say that. This organization represents 157 million Nigerians. But Emmanuel, what do you think about this? Because this is very far away from the 100% that the telecoms companies were actually asking for. They got 50%, and now you want to reduce it to 10%. I don't see that happening.
Well, I don't really see it happening. I think the NCC as the industry regulator is between the devil and the deep blue sea. Because you cannot take it for, you can imagine the situation with the circumstances of the industry, of the operators, because all the indices have risen. They need to, and they are in there for the business. They are in there to make money and to make profit. If you look at some of those that are quoted on the stock exchange, you see that some of them are even trying to run, those that were turning out trillions, billions of profit in Naira, that are running into losses at presently. So the industry needs to be beefed up. The profitability and viability of this industry needs to be beefed up. Painfully as a subscriber, and it's very ironic for me coming to agitate for the operators, because in the past we condemned them, especially when the MTN and Airtel, all of them refused per second billing. We were frontal in condemning them. But now I think they need some substance.
Right. Let's move on to the international headlines. Daily Graphic, PPP's key to infrastructure deficit, according to Vish Ashiabgorgan, is talking about how to finance infrastructure shortfall through public-private partnership. Vish is the senior country partner of PwC. Citizen South Africa, Syria talks as 4 more SA soldiers die in DRC. President Cyril Ramaphosa has held talks with his Rwandan counterpart, Paul Kagame, over escalating violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where 13 soldiers from South Africa have been killed. The both leaders have agreed, to talk about immediate ceasefire so that all parties can cease fighting one another. The soldiers of South Africa there are part of the United Nations peacekeeping mission. Charles, as we know, fresh violence erupted in the DRC a few days ago. We have the M23 rebels that have claimed they seized the biggest city, Goma, in that country. The government has therefore cut ties with Rwanda, a neighboring country, claiming that Rwanda is sponsoring these rebels. This has been an ongoing conflict for many years, with Rwanda or Kagame always being fingered as supporting these rebels. It's such a catastrophic situation in DR Congo, a country rich in human resources, mineral resources, but so totally battered.
Absolutely. DR Congo is potentially the richest country in the world as far as mineral deposits are concerned. They have almost every type of mineral, including even petroleum offshore. Unfortunately, instability has rocked that country over the years, and well, I think the whole world is complicit in this, if I may say that conservatively. However, the situation in Goma at the moment is a bit confusing because heavy fighting is still continuing there between the Congolese army and M23 rebels, allegedly backed by Rwandan forces as well. Well, President Kagame has actually denied that Rwandan troops are involved, but then the United Nations have also fingered Kagame on that matter. And it's the reason why South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is also reaching out to Kagame, ostensibly to complain about the involvement of Rwandan forces in the killing of South African soldiers serving under the United Nations. Kagame does have a lot on his plate because he's also being called to the discussion table by the head of the regional grouping, the president of Kenya. All fingers are being pointed towards Rwanda, so Kagame has a lot of explaining to do, both to the East African regional grouping and also to the South African president. But be that as it may, I mean, it's high time Africa comes together as a body to address the problem in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's gone on for so long. Right after the fall of the Mobutu regime back in 1997, this country has never known peace even for a single day. So it's time the rest of the African continent comes together, you know, to restore peace in the Democratic Republic of Congo and, of course, exploit its wealth for the benefit not only of the country but the entire continent as well.
The Guardian, I lost everything, according to some people in Gaza. Gaza refugees returned to wasteland of ruins. We have a striking photo of a man, or a lot of people from Gaza. The other day, the figure was put about 200,000 people trying to get home and returning home to complete rubble. People are completely shattered. Let's not forget that Hamas has rejected the proposal by President Donald Trump that they be relocated to Egypt and Jordan. They say, no, this is our land and we're going to fight for it. And let's move on to Financial Times as well. Trump freeze on hundreds of billions in federal grants and loans sets alarm. This move by President Trump has been temporarily blocked by a court, though, in the U.S. It's causing utter chaos in the country. A lot of people are scared because money for programs will be disrupted, they say, although the Trump government has said there are certain programs that will not be disrupted. Well, he's making a bold move to shrink government. That has always been the cardinal pillar of the conservative belief. Emmanuel, you know, in less than 30 seconds, what's your take on this move by Trump?
Reassuring that the administration, the chief press secretary yesterday had a robust press conference where she directly addressed that matter, and she did say that direct programs that directly impact on the poor at homes will not be affected. And one of the things that came out from that press conference was that about $40 million meant to provide condoms to people in Gaza was being stopped. That President Trump has stopped that package. So you could see President Trump, I think, has his own ideas. I think some of the decision to stop some of these programs to the conservatives, even to the majority of Americans, may be salutary.
Okay, unfortunately we have to go, but thank you so much, Emmanuel Azeke, a columnist with Vanguard newspaper, for joining us this morning. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Dr. Constance, for anchoring the newspaper review segment. It's been very interesting, and that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me. And up next, do keep it here on Arise News, the morning show will be coming up shortly.